Hey, welcome to Creative Block. We're your hosts, V.
And Sean, aka Lord Spew. We talk shop with other creatives in animation and comics and illustration about things like finding your artistic path or the process of making art while we doodle together on a magma canvas.
We asked people on our social medias if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts. If you haven't yet, check out our Patreon and subscribe to our channel.
Today we have with us Baker, aka Fuck You Baker. Welcome to the show.
Hey, hi, hello, welcome. Thanks for having me. That's what I meant to say.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, how would you describe what you do as an artist as far as like career paths? Are you graphic designer, illustration, streamer? Like, what can you talk about how you think about yourself?
If pressed, I just tell people I draw skeletons on the internet. But I guess
if you were to get nerdy about it, if you were to make a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I would say that probably professional illustrator, moonlighting as a merch designer and occasional gun for hire. I've been dabbling with tattooing for the last couple of years. Don't tell anyone.
Cool.
Don't tell anybody.
Nah,
Did we hear it first on Creative Block?
The soft launch. So basically just make illustrations for like-minded miscreants, and then we'll occasionally sell that on stuff. And that's been the gig this will be the 10th year, I believe.
Oh, so cool.
Holy shit. That's a long time. And you've gone like the zoomed out version of your journey is sort of like you tried some kind of corporate designy illustration-y stuff, and you've arced and you've turned into like you sell shirts and merch and you sell your own designs and you make your living off of your own artwork.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, to run it back, I started doing illustration stuff. I already had a job in graphic design and stuff for that before. I did some motion work or whatever. But as far as like what people would know me for now, started about 10 years ago. The trajectory was that it started to get more popular and more people became interested in it. Corporations became interested in it. I felt a bit weird about that. Stepped out of the kind of freelance and commission game and more focused on creating stuff and selling merchandise and that stuff kind of directly, and trying to make that a bit more integrated into the art process rather than working for a shoe company. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Art school, yes or no?
No tertiary education whatsoever.
Oh, very cool.
I basically just grew up in my father was a sign writer, so I grew up in a very like visual designy kind of household kind of thing, and just started working straight out of high school for him. It'd be like a Nepo baby if like the nepotism really didn't entitle you to like anything good, you know? Like, yeah, that guy's dad got him a job. He's like, yeah, man, it was at a fruit shop. Calm down.
Yeah, it's like if your dad's a sludge collector and you get hired in the sludge collecting business, are you a Nepo baby?
So yeah, it's a sludge collection Nepo baby. But yeah, I think I just kind of piggybacked and jumped from career to career to career until I landed on just doing my own thing, which suits me fine.
That is so cool.
I'd love to talk about the stuff that you went away from first, and you know, we'll get into the reasons why you left that area. But I think that the usual career path that people think of for illustration is like you know, is the goal finding a consistent thing at a company where you have a recurring client. What's your experience with like your first few jobs doing that? Did you go the mainstream route first after the sign stuff with your dad?
Yeah, so like I did band commissions and stuff as far as illustration and that kind of goes for a long time. Band merch and, you know, this is kind of before people were credited for that kind of thing. So all of my early illustration and commission work would have been basically just like band nights, gig nights, clubs, stuff like that. Just I would take anything where they would just let me draw generally.
Hell yeah.
So I did a lot of that stuff, and there's nothing that will grow more of a passion inside you for your own work than having to do somebody else's, in my experience.
Yes.
So
Put
I
that
did
on,
that for
put that on your tombstone, dude.
Yeah.
I want on my tombstone just for it to say, "Who sent you?" But yeah, like I did a lot of that stuff, and so I think when I was kind of given the opportunity to do my own thing, once the corporate-y kind of stuff started rolling back in, I was like, I've already feel like I've done this, but now it's the same work, but they're like, hey, this is the guy that did it, and it didn't appeal that much. So yeah, when all the corporate-y stuff, is that what we were talking about? I feel like I got off the track.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we were talking about the corporate stuff, and I think that it does help to know some of the companies that you've worked for, just to let people know that like you have had the option of working for companies and some kind of cool companies, but you chose to go this other path. What kind of stuff did you work on?
So I worked in, well, okay, before I was here, I worked at a television channel in Australia called ABC for a while, doing like motion and all that kind of stuff. And that's sort of corporate-y stuff, but more with the illustration stuff, like brands like Converse, for example. I feel bad naming names because I feel like I'm just going to speak super ill of my experiences coming up.
But that's part of your truth, dude. That's part of, I mean, you don't have to name the people that you worked for, but it's companies, you know?
Yeah, but if I'm being honest, it's like I don't even really necessarily feel bad shitting on the companies as much as like I still have friends who do this stuff for a living. And
yeah,
you know,
I think the way that we can like kind of phrase it is about your lived experience, because it's true, like not all of us are excited within the same job, and
Yeah.
it's more of a, like, I don't know, like personality, I would say, and I think that's what's exciting to hear about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'll just shoot from the hip. You can cut the waffle back there if you have to. But yeah, so I basically worked as, you know, doing design. That's basically functional based art, right? You know, it's got it serves a purpose, and I spent a lot of time honing my skills doing that stuff. But the minute I was kind of afforded my own opportunity to do my stuff, and stuff started really catching fire, that would have been like 2015 with the great Instagram artist boom. You know, once all that stuff started kicking off, the corporate stuff kind of dragged me in, and there's always a compromise to it. You know, they're like, we love what you do. Can you please do 30% of that and 70% of the stuff that we do? And I'm like, you guys brought me in because I have an audience now. My audience doesn't like this shit. I think, like, you know, like, I don't think that I'm any revolutionary truth speaker or whatever, but I just feel like if the guy called Fuck You Baker is then, you know, talking about how happy they are to have a partnership with Logitech, you might go, I don't know if this guy's being legit about the fuck you part. You know, I think it's like fuck you with an asterisk kind of thing. And so it was just like, I kind of felt like to kind of maintain what I liked about making my own work and what I like to see my work doing. I kind of had to step away from, you know, painting boots at a pop-up in-store and acting really happy to be working with a multinational company. Because I'm generally, not to knock it, it's good work. And if that's satisfying, seek that satisfaction. But for me, it just never felt like what I wanted to be doing. And it always felt like a compromise. And having spent so much time making all that other stuff in the past, I was just like, this is basically just, this doesn't even have the benefit of anonymity. Is that the word? Where I could just make this shit, turn my brain off. Now they want me to make the same shit and stand next to it. So I just kind of bailed out of it. I just stopped replying to emails.
Oh, so they wanted they wanted you to put your name. They wanted you to like attach your name to it and be like, this is Baker, our brand buddy.
Yeah,
you know, like vouching for how cool our company is, kind of.
I mean, like, to talk kind of candidly about it, I think that's one of the major pitfalls for any kind of, let's say, personality forward artist on the internet now. You know, like any brand that looks at your stuff, if you have a substantial following, that in their mind is, oh, that's like cheap advertising or something, you know? And I was like, am I getting commission for these guys because they like the work, or is it just because they want this perk that comes along with it? And those kind of questions are the shit that keeps me up at night. So I just felt better to walk away.
No, that's it. That's so interesting that you bring that up because you said "fuck you, Baker" like with the asterisks and all. And so, how did you come up with that vibe? What was the like? How did you come up with even the name? I mean,
I hear it a lot.
Yeah,
That's
become
awesome.
what they want you to be, you know? It's the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, but it's also like a bit of a Rorschach test, It's like, I mean, it's like anybody who picked a name back in the day. You were like, I just need something right now. Gumshoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jam. Love you, Jam.
Yes.
Episode 198 of the Creative Blogger Podcast. But it's you just pick a fucking name. That was what my parents would always like. Fuck you, Baker. Like, because I would just be a smartass. I liked being a smartass. Kind of being a kind of cheeky dickhead is part and parcel of the of my personality, unfortunately. So yeah, I kind of just went with that. I would have, in hindsight, probably picked something that didn't get filtered immediately into people's spam folders at work. It's a terrible business decision. Do not pick a name that breaks terms and services of Instagrams, bullying.
Just shadow banned permanently because of the name.
Yeah. I do have a theory that being shadow banned makes you kind of boutique these days, where it's like you just can't, like you can't find this on the explore page. This is never on the For You. I know where the good shit is.
Yeah, it's
That's
the deep
so
web of
funny.
Instagram.
Art for those who can find it, man.
It's interesting too, because it's like, how like there's this thing where like people like when you kind of make it on your own and then people don't want you to be a sellout, and then like your name just kind of like the name you picked instantly, shields you.
Oh yeah, no, my favorite is I get automated emails that are like, "Hi, fuck you."
It's a pleasure to meet you. Fuck you.
Yeah, I think I probably and I think it's like you really do encourage people to tell you to go fuck yourself like pretty much constantly. I think I probably received the most fuck yous from not angry people.
No, Mr. Fuck You was my father.
That's
I ran a sludge empire, okay?
I do think it's really funny, like acknowledging yourself as a personality-based artist, like just as like with your vibe, like the idea of a company coming to fuck you, Baker, and being like, we this person has a strong personality online. We gotta buy into this. Like, it's amazing.
Really, this guy seems like a public liability. We need him for our sandal company.
But honestly, though, I do feel like, okay, like real talk, I think companies are always trying to appear like they're like cool and
Oh yeah, for sure.
and edgy, but they can't be. Like they can't. And so they see a brand like yours and they're like, we gotta get in on this, but they can't do it. It's like
I mean, it's like the word brand is almost like such a misnomer because I just have a shitty personality, really. Like I just, and they're like, we
just
love the
consistently
brand.
shitty. You're so consistent with it. It's in all your art. It permeates your artwork.
But you
Very
hear
good.
like I would get emails from being like, listen, the guys at Fireball love your personality. We love what you're branding and stuff. And I'm like, I'm just a handful to deal with, really. Like, this is...
Just to let you know, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're not going to like that.
Yeah, I mean, I got hit up for one time for like, this is like, I'll be completely real. This is like a couple years back. And they were like, hey, we want you to promote this alcohol company. And I was like, I can't think of a way that I could present me supporting this to people without it just seeming pretty soulless. I'm like, hey, I'll take the gear, but can I throw it against a wall and put that video up, like just as a sarcastic kind of thing? And they're like, oh, that's so funny, but you can't. And I was like, oh, then.
that's so sad because that's so genius. And it's like, I feel like there's like a marketing thing right there that like is right in front of their face and they're not seeing. Just and the reason why I'm saying that is that I was like listening to some podcasts about the guy behind Liquid Death, like the
cool
guy who
guy
came
water.
up with that brand.
Was that Will
Yeah,
Corus? You had Will on the.
we had Will.
Yeah, he's the
who
artist
designed,
who.
Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to Will.
but the guy who came up with the brand is like somebody from marketing, and nobody wanted to make that idea. They were like, it's stupid, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Well, now it's the most
So with
popular
billions
water
of
brand.
dollars. I haven't seen a single podcast without like 3 cans of it just kind of floating around the bottom of the frame. Wow, man, these guys love this water.
Do you know how much money an alcohol company would make if the current trend was buying it and smashing it against a wall?
Yes!
Like if they would have to keep buying more. Like that's such a good idea.
It really is.
Like
Man.
it's it's an idea. I'll put it that way.
Like Tide Pods probably like did really well during that time where everyone was buying it to eat it as children.
When they were eating it, and
Yeah.
Tide Pods was trying so hard to tell people to stop eating it, and it was just adding to the fire.
Yeah,
They should have leaned in though. They should have made it so
Yeah.
like
Reverse
two in
psychology.
every single package are candy, but they're completely
Ah.
packaged exactly the
random.
same.
It's it's lottery. It's like
Yeah.
Russian roulette, but with
It's
Tide
Russian
Pods.
detergent
my
roulette
God.
for sure, man.
Russian roulette.
But
Oh
yeah,
my
and the
God.
real ones taste amazing, so it's kind of worth it, you know. we did lose Brandon, but you know, like. But yeah, no, fuck it, be unmarketable. That's what I say. You know what I mean? Like, it's. I keep running my account through. This is shameful to admit, but this is just out of morbid curiosity. But you can hit a button now that'll summate somebody's Twitter account, and thanks to the AI assistant kind of thing, and I just want to know what Elon Musk's robot thinks about me right now, and it just keeps saying that I have positive hostility.
That's a win.
I'm,
like,
I'm about it.
hostility.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the
I-
kind of thing that you'd put at the top of your like Instagram title, like positive
I put it-
hostility.
I'm pretty sure it was for a while. Like it kind of gleams things from like tweets and stuff that you've made. Like
Crazy.
so, it keeps talking about how I'm in a war with
yourself.
t-shirt scraping bots on Twitter. You know, when you would say I need this on a shirt, and then it would instantly be like ZeusTees.com says here's the design or whatever. Like 13 seconds after
Yeah.
you've run it or whatever.
yeah.
So I had a elongated war with those guys. I'm blabbing
Okay,
too
I
much.
was,
I'm
I was like,
boring
where's
now.
he going with this? With an
Yeah.
elongated nipple.
No, I was in a long form battle with those guys for a while.
Oh,
so
shit.
yeah, apparently I'm in war with the bots. And
Well,
I
I guess
wield
wh-
their
wh-
hostile
while,
positivity.
while we're on it, you are one of the first people that I had come across that were actively in situations where people would take your art and either use it or like sell T-shirts of it or whatever. What's that been like? And have you had to like hire like lawyers or anything? Like, I want to hear about this.
There's certain companies that I have been paid out by. There's like, you know how everyone's like, if I had a time machine, I'd go back and kill baby Hitler, or I would, you know, I would tell David Lynch to not get on the SIGs. Like I would, you know, like I would just go back to 2016 and tell myself not to draw this one design I did of a dog with a knife in its mouth. Because it's caused me so much pain mentally after that. It wasn't even that original a design, in my opinion. But yeah, I it's been plagiarized like a billion times. Quite a few things have, but I got told that if you don't have someone paying the rent ripping you off, you haven't really made it. So I try to reframe it as like a positive in my head now. But dude, it grinds you the fuck down. Like, I'll be real, like I'm pretty numb to it now, but what a thing to be numb to. Like, you know.
Yeah, because so when you said that, like it kind of like brought hell? Like, do you mean that you spent countless hours trying to track down people? Or like, what were you paying lawyers? What was or is it just like emotionally it was awful that
Kind of
they
all of
were.
the above, to be real. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all of those things. Like,
Is it this guy?
yeah, that's the dude. I hate that guy.
Oh, you hate that guy.
Used to be a design I really liked. Yeah, getting like plagiarized and stuff. I mean, if you're an artist, like this stuff feels personal to you, or it should if it's good, right? So when you start seeing that, you know, you're like, oh, someone's taking a part of me, or someone's like using part of me for their own means or whatever. I've had some pretty like negative stuff happen. Like I used to make artwork that was like really, really hostile, very antisocial. I still do. But it was it was of a different flavor back then. And a bunch of like white nationalist record labels would steal my artwork and reappropriate it and stuff. And you know,
Yeah, that's
like
the worst.
I don't think you can really go through something like that and not take it
Yeah.
on board a little bit. You know, fuckboy streetwear cut like labels. You're like, okay, you're just not very creative. You've got, you know what you like, or you know what you think is going to sell, and in a way, there is a compliment clenched inside that fist that you swung at the back of my head. But like that other stuff, you're like, what the fuck am I putting out there? So it's definitely affected me. Like it's definitely changed things about my work and stuff. As far as like
Some soul
taking it.
searching.
Yeah, like, you know, yeah, totally, to be honest with you, man.
Slightly
Like, a little
less
bit.
misanthropic. Like you like toned it down a little.
No, I just started making stuff that appealed less to racist edgelords and made them uncomfortable. That's why my shit got a lot cuter, because I was like, you guys are so fucking insecure. I'm just going to start drawing, like, Miffy and see how you fucks like that. I'm done. No more balaclava dudes and barking dogs that you can fucking spell a bunch of words with K's on the front of. I'm gonna take it to the Build-A-Bear workshop and see how you guys feel out there.
Let's test your masculinity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's man, that really sucks. I think that's like definitely an artist's like worst nightmare, right? When your like stuff gets like used by a group that has an ideology you don't mess with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
living
for
out
sure.
that Pepe nightmare, you know?
Yeah, I think in a small way, I can relate to Matt's plight. Yeah, like brutal, absolutely brutal. But you know, like unfortunately, like that's the reality of making shit online. You know, like you kind of can't control it. You can't really do like what happens to it once you kind of release it into the world is what happens. You know. So yeah, like that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you do develop a bit of a callus for it. I don't take it as personally as I used to when somebody steals my shit these days. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend having your work stolen, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening right now and you're like, you're thinking about having your work stolen as like just trying it out.
Don't,
like,
it might hurt your
consider
feelings.
it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That's my advice to you guys.
So,
It's not as fun as it sounds, guys, to have Nazis steal your work, okay? It sounds like Indiana Jones stuff. It's not. It's a lot of arguing on Twitter.
Oh my god.
we're definitely hitting a little bit of the dark side of having your own business here.
Let's keep it light.
I'm curious about what was the period of time where you transitioned from working for the man to setting out and doing your own stuff. Can you kind of walk us through like what job were you coming from? What was your start into doing it? You know, did you fail? Whatever, like all that stuff.
Are you referring to like before I started doing illustration full time, or when I started getting off of the commission stuff?
Like from what I can tell is at some point you started to transition into making your own stuff full time rather than working for corporate. Was it a gradual thing, or were you like, this is the last straw at this job, this sucks, I'm going to just try doing this on my own? Yeah,
So I was doing pretty much just pickup work, like a lot of contract stuff and a lot of just random illustration work that I could get, and then mostly like my Like, so when I first got into Instagram, I was doing all like band flyers and club night photos and stuff for pretty heinous events, to be honest. And then the state that I was in initiated a lockdown law where everyone, all the clubs and stuff had to shut by 12, and it just killed the industry. Like, so I was like, fuck, I need to find work. And I just started posting on Instagram so I could kind of keep the knife sharp, so to speak. And then within like a couple months, that started getting me gigs. And then those gigs kind of turned to more corporate stuff. And I did one gig for a band that kind of radicalized me a little bit, I guess. I was like, I hate this so fucking much. And then I had a streetwear label that they're nice people, but I don't think they really realized what they were saying. So yeah, like and then I was doing all this stuff for like streetwear labels where they would buy designs of mine and stuff, and then they would be like, this is great, we sold 300 t-shirts, and I'd be like, you guys paid me like $200. Like I'd like to make that money. So I just was like, fuck it, I'll just learn how to post things out. I'll learn how to make some phone calls and get shirts printed up. And then once that first sale went through and I was like, oh, I just can do this instead, I was like, I'm not going back. And that kind of went from like not doing the corporate stuff anymore to then being like, I don't want to even do like I feel honored to be invited to do the Game of Thrones group exhibition, but like I don't give a fuck about that really. I'd rather draw my silly little duck guy or something, you know, like I've got an alcoholic skeleton I need to draw. HBO will be fine without me. So I just kind of cut and run, I think. I kind of moved into a cabin in the woods and then so to speak, figuratively, artistically, career-wise. And yeah, never look back. Does that answer the question? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it sounds like it was pretty fast. Like it sounds like you weren't ramping it up on the side while you were still doing corporate. It sounds like it was a kind of like a very kind of sudden cut and dry decision.
Yeah, I was basically looking for an escape, to be real. Like, yeah, like I said before, it's like all that stuff kind of always felt like a bit of a compromise. And for somebody who's always been doing other people's stuff, you know, you make band merch and stuff, it's like exciting to be a part of their stuff, but it's always somebody else's vision that it comes to at the end of the day. And I just kind of wanted to see what would happen if I did my own thing and what would come out and not have that kind of put through the lens and the filter of servicing somebody else's art, I guess. If that's too heady, I apologize.
No, that's cool.
I feel weird talking in like really high and like with any kind of like seriousness to what I do, because it's mostly just like cat with a knife, skeleton being rude. Like it's really not deep art, but I love taking something stupid very seriously.
Well, we want to get to the cat with a knife behind the cat with a knife.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that was really smooth.
You're good, man.
I was like, I wanted to ask a little bit about the nitty gritty of when you said making phone calls and getting in touch with the manufacturers. Like, how was that process for you? Like, can you describe it? Especially imagine if you're describing it to someone who's trying to get into that world.
Yeah, so like I think that the initial appeal about, you know, getting your work and stuff or merchandising your work is, for me, I love having something tangible to hold. I love having something to like, you know, you do digital work all the time and it's like having something that you can actually like, this artwork is terrible.
Dude, you're doing great. You're trying to...
Wait, don't
he's erasing
so
it.
Good. Wow.
We're starting over. Sorry, I'll get back on track. You know, making merchandise and stuff like that, it's one of those things that makes you feel like you have a bit of a checkpoint with a non-job focused art career. You know, you have no job title, therefore how do you know if things are going well? I now have this thing on a t-shirt that's better than it was before. So there's like a lot of online portals and stuff that you can go through to get that kind of stuff done. Threadless kind of style, direct-to-garment printing and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's not necessarily what I wanted to do, and I kind of wanted to keep it more in-house. With printing and stuff, there will be like local small companies that are happy to help you out. They'll usually be pretty happy for the work. you know, and they know what to do when it comes to like formatting your files and stuff like that. I was pretty fortunate to have a graphic design background, so like I kind of know that stuff. If you've got someone that can help you out with that shit, just make some calls in your local area. Look up screen printers or ask bands where they get their stuff done. And usually it's just some dude in his garage with like a carousel who would be happy to run 30 or so of your shirts. And those 30 tees and stuff, like those first time you'll sell that, like if you can budget it correctly, if you can make something that people are into, it's not that many to sell, and you will make a lot more than if you were trying to sell that design to a designer, especially early on, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, like you know, like you just gotta learn it as you go. Like you can't really be too ready for this kind of thing. You'll learn about what problems that exist within it as they come up. But that's like, I've been doing it 8 years now. It's down to kind of like a bit of a routine and stuff right now. But you know, it's all locally sourced stuff. It's still like a one-man operation. Like you can kind of do all this stuff. It's a lot to do on top of drawing, but I don't like to do anything else apart from drawing, and it supports it better than anything else I've ever tried.
Well, what's your day to day? You said you have a routine. Yeah. Like take us from brainstorming ideas to doing, like, how do you sort through the designs? When do you make a collection to send off? How often do you do that?
I try to spread things out. Like I usually try to have something like maybe every 6-7 weeks that people can check out. I did a lot of shirts last year, too many IMO, but yeah, so like
just too many.
I was doing them like every other month, you know, like people are
I see.
grateful when people support it and stuff, but also it's like, how many fucking shirts do people need from the same guy? So like
but I mean, that's so funny, but I get you. Yeah, it's like this thing where you don't want to like bleed your following dry.
Yeah, and like I guess like this kind of doubles back a little bit, but my audience or the people that support my work, like I do see them as like a tangible thing in my life, you know? You don't want to become too beholden to their opinions of what your work should be, but I'm trying to be more conscious of like the way they take it all in. You know, if I'm selling shirts all the time and those shirts go well, that's not just like a number on a website that I'm like, this number went up, I'm doing good. Next time the number will go up even better. I'm like, these are real people with jobs.
Yeah.
If they've just bought a shirt off me last month or whatever, like they definitely don't need another one. Like it's probably going to feel
they're
too
buying
soon.
that shirt instead of feeding their child, and you have to think about how many meals their child can go without.
And I think I use 100% cotton blend, which means you can boil it down into a soup if your children get hungry. You know, they're safe to eat. Don't do that. And but you know,
it's your clothes. Tide Pods.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Every second one is poison. Yeah, one is poison. No, I just think like treating. I mean, I guess that's another thing with a corporate thing, man. Like it's a company sees the following that you have as a raw number and goes, we like that number. We think this person is this quantifiably popular, and therefore we will get them to do this kind of thing. It's usually never a real judgment on skill or quality. Apart, you know. Maybe that's too far reaching, but let's just say a lot of the time it isn't. You know, I think that's a terrible way to treat the people that have supported you up until a certain point, is to then just like trade them in to be like, hey, thanks so much, guys. I've made all this stuff, and now it's time to do a bunch of like really like shit that's going to get me paid, but you're going to hate, you know, like I think that like the relevancy and the kind of clout boost you get from that kind of stuff is pretty temporary, and then you've got to kind of go back hat in hand being like, hey, I know I talked all that shit about those guys and then went to work for them, but like, what are you guys up to now? I just like the human aspect to the people that like my shit. So yeah, I keeping that kind of like centrally focused and trying to make sure that like I'm not rinsing them too hard in any one way or another. I'm doing prints and I just did hats and stuff like that, you know. I try to keep like a mental rotation of all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the routine would basically be like, what can I make that I think is cool? What can I make that I think is cool that people don't already have 15 of sitting in a drawer? And yeah, like just kind of keep rotating it with that.
And I was gonna ask you about like a week, like in terms of like running your business, how much time do you allocate to drawing and making art and creating art versus, shipping stuff, taking care of your shop, invoices, all that stuff?
I run on a pre-sale model where I run the store for like 48 hours.
Hmm.
Then I'll do all of the work involved with that, all the packing and the sending and the shipping and stuff, just so I can get that down to like a week and a half every month or so, and then I just spend the rest of the time drawing, coming up with stuff. All the art that I make could turn into a shirt or a sticker or whatever down the line. So, it's usually like a month on just making art, and then like, okay, what have we got here that doesn't suck? What have we got here that we can turn into shit? Let's reach around in the bag and try to remember things that people were into and see if I can find a way to even like maybe improve that design, something like that. Yeah, like it's basically just trying to refill the bag and then rummage around it at the end of the month.
How do you choose which designs you go with? Because you draw a lot, and you draw a lot of stuff that you don't print. Is it like what people respond to on Instagram, or are you ever in your head, or are you ever like, they're wrong, this is good? Like
It's a controversial opinion, but it's kind of the second more than the first, like,
okay.
Don't get me wrong, like if I do something and people fuck with it, I'm like, awesome, I liked it when I drew it. Like, if you like it now, like, I don't see any problem with this. But sometimes I'll do something that I'm just like, I don't want to be the guy who's like, I'll be the guy who draws this, but I don't want to be the guy who pays his phone bills with this. But honestly, yeah, like it's weird. I never wear any of my own stuff, not because I hate it or whatever, or I'm ashamed of it. It feels weirdly egotistical for me personally. That's just not my personality type. But I make stuff that I would that I would wear. I'd make stuff that I would.
I think that comes from being in bands, and there's a culture around not wearing your band's shirt.
Dude, you are so
your
right.
Own band's
you are
shirt.
so right.
But I've never been in a band, and I've made shirts with my characters. I hate wearing my shirts. It feels just weird. It just feels weird.
Right?
So it's like I'm not making this for me. I don't know. So I get it. I mean, there's definitely a thing where you're like even making stickers. Like, I don't want to use my stickers on my own things.
Yeah, it's
like I have all these snarky shirts that say I'm Sean and I'm not happy about it, and I make them for me, and other people can buy it if they want.
I have this hat that I made. I bought it in. I got a wild hair up my ass one day, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to embroider. And I went and I bought this like industrial embroidery machine. It's like it was pretty out of date when I got it. Like I bought it from like an old lady off Facebook Marketplace, and I started embroidering, and I made this hat that said "Suck my dick, dumb Earth." I just thought it was the dumbest hat of all time, but very, it felt real to me. Damn it! And then people were like, "You got to make that hat," and I was like, "I genuinely can't sell something like this." So I ended up.
The wrong people will buy it. People that really hate the earth. Yeah. I mean, you sort of hate the earth, but
I hate a lot of stuff that happens on it. But I guess I don't have any beef with it particularly.
It's more funny that would be a hat.
Yeah.
Like the joke is that's a ridiculous hat.
It's also funny that it was made with that machine from that nice little old lady.
Yeah. Like if she knew that the atrocities I would commit, I don't think Beverly would have really handed it over as easily. But she's a lovely lady. I would recommend her Facebook Marketplace profile if you're interested. Full name is so like I made that hat, and people were like, "Oh, you got to do it," and I was like, "Oh, fuck it." So I made it, but the caveat was on the store page on my site, it was all blurred out. I just blurred it all out, so you couldn't actually tell what the hat was. And I just told the people on the mailing list, like, "Hey guys, here's the hat. If you see it, that's what the hat is. I don't want to be known as the guy that sold the Suck My Dick Earth hat." So it's like such a
the mental loopholes.
I mean, honestly, yeah. you gotta have your own lines in the sand, right? I'm sure it doesn't make sense, and I'm okay with selling a hat that says "Please don't hate me, I'll come," but I don't want to sell the "Suck my dick, dumb earth" hat.
Baker's line in the sand looks like this.
Hey, it's my line, dude. Okay, it's my line. All right, I decide where it goes. I put the line in the sand.
Can you tell us where "Suck my dick, dumb earth" is like too much? Why is it like what is it that takes it over the line?
I just, like, what if it went really well? Like, and then it was like, oh, you're the "Suck my dick, dumb earth" guy.
You made $1 million off of "Suck my dick, dumb earth."
Yeah, I'm like an old man standing on my fucking villa balcony with my 18 grandchildren. Papa, how did we earn
Where
such
did
a
you
life?
make your fortune? Yeah.
And then I'm like, I sold NFTs. Like, it's less shameful.
That's
Dude,
that's
did you-
your acceptable one. Yeah.
I'm sure like you must have like a ton of people asking you to do NFTs, right?
Oh, dude, it used to be disgusting. Do you remember when it was like the gold rush of NFTs? Like,
Yeah, fucking
Oh, yeah.
prospectors with their fucking carts migrating. Yeah.
there's gold in them. There are non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting a lot of messages. I can't even imagine, like large. I mean, you have a bigger following than me. I can't even imagine how many people hit you up and like, dude, you're missing out on a fortune,
Dude,
not cashing in.
I would get like people hitting me up pretty constantly, and that stuff was easy to ignore. But I got 2 phone calls from people that had got the personal data. You know how like your website sometimes like stores your billing data, and it'll have your address and your phone number on it and stuff. It's like,
Oh my god.
I never turned that off. And so I got phone calls from people being like, "Hi, is this Benjamin Baker, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Yes." And then they were like, "Oh, we'd like to talk to you about this thing." I was like, "Dude, why do you think I want to get into a business like arrangement with somebody who has already essentially stolen my data?" Like,
Yeah.
But we
Yeah,
need to talk to the "Suck my dick, dumb earth" guy.
yeah. The non-fungible "Suck my dick, dumb earth" NFT. But yeah, I just, but there was just crazy money being kicked around like around then. And, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but it's quite hard to make money as an artist. Part of me was like, I don't really begrudge people that got the bag, but there's always that thing in the back of my head where sometimes I'll be offered something and I'll be like, this money would be nice. It's probably also the last money I'd ever make off my art if I did this at this point. Like,
I feel like the way that they would do it is there would be some sort of randomizer and it would be like, oh, I got "Suck my ass, dumb Jupiter."
I got "Nuzzle my tape, dumb Mercury."
Yeah, right.
Oh, dude, if you got Uranus, that would have been worth 7,000 more. That would have been 700 grand right there. If you got "Nuzzle my taint, dumb anus." Mercury's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it still burns the same amount of jungle, but like it's, but Uranus, that's where the real money is. Diamond hands, baby. God, it's so weird thinking about how like you couldn't escape that as an artist. There's just so many things that like putting your art online exposes you to. You grow up being a kid being like, I just want to show people my drawings, and you got like a fucking positive feedback loop from that. And then now it's like, hey, we love your bunny rabbit drawing. How about we get you into tax fraud? Like,
I mean, that's what fine arts is. So
Yeah,
it's not.
it's all-
but, it's part of the main track. I
yeah,
guess.
wealth criminals under any other name, I guess. But yeah, no, I definitely got hit up by a bunch of that stuff. And then it's like, there's new computer threats to art to focus on these days. I almost miss the days where NFTs were the biggest threat that you had as an artist.
Honestly, so many of my artist friends were saying that. Like with Gen AI, we're all like, "Oh my god, just give us the NFTs back."
Can I please just be punched in the balls instead of the face, sir?
Yeah.
What was your first big design that you were like, oh shit, like I can make a living off like people are buying the shit out of this. Like
It was well, like the first design I did was like not really one of the, I had this like fear of going with the stuff, my most popular stuff at first. I was kind of like, you know what? I'll answer the question. How about that? First design that I really did that like super blew up was this weird skull it was like a split skull in half, and it was upside down, and it had like a switchblade going through it. And
people love
just,
knives and skulls, dude.
yeah, which is great for me. That's all I like drawing. So like it was for a band, and you know, like I just posted it without the band's logo on it, and it started circulating pretty hard. And you know, like when you get that first thing that kind of like does super well, like the fear sets in when you're like,
Yeah.
this is it. I've made the one good artwork I'm ever gonna make. And then the next thing you do doesn't go as great, and then your brain's like, well, that was nice. I'm done. I'm out. I'm a fraud. So that was like one of the first ones, and the fact it was done for another band or whatever, like for a band, I was kind of like, oh, it stung a little, you know, my very fragile artist's ego. So yeah, that kind of like, so yeah, I did that design. It went really well, and then some of the other stuff I popped off. I did this smiley face Reaper guy for a while. I still kind of do every now and then. This mental vacation crocodile, and I think the thing that like really made me go like, oh fuck, like I'm making not answering emails money was this like cat with a knife through its mouth. There's a theme with the knives.
Animal
with a knife equals you get another month of electricity in your house. But yeah, so it's like that, you know, those were the kind of the first designs. But I had this paranoia that if I like just relied on things that were working, especially like in those early days, like you would see somebody and they would draw like an eyeball, and then the eyeball would blow up, and then they would draw not an eyeball, and then they're like, I must be and that wouldn't go as well. So they're like, I'm the eyeball guy now. And it's like that. I was always like, I don't want to lean too heavily on anything and kind of exhaust that. I don't want anything to overstay its welcome. Whether or not it has is up to other people at this point. But at least early on, I was like, I'm just going to keep trying to diversify it and go through it. So the first shirt design that I did, it went well, but it wasn't like, it said, it was like an axe, and I think it was like 2 axes and a mace or something like crossed on the back, and it just said like, slave foes eat pussy. Which was, you know, as the style at the time in the year 2015. But you know, it's that I guess that was the first one that was a bit of an eye opener. But yeah, it's again, I don't know if I've answered the question, Sean. I apologize.
No, you did just fine.
The cat and knife.
Yeah.
Cat and knife.
Cat knife. Like it's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. I like that your art is very crunchy. Like, how did you? I mean, this is kind of a vague question, but how did you kind of come up with your style?
Can I have like free license to get like a little bit too like heady about this?
100%. We want
Vee
you to
loves
get
that.
heady.
I'm always trying to get us away from being heady by like talking about farts or some shit. But
Yeah.
that's what Vee wants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, we had the suck my dick dumb earth conversation, so your portion of the podcast has been fulfilled.
Bye, everybody. That's it for me.
The roller shutter just comes down.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so like I like very human touched stuff, and I don't really have any like aspirations to be like the most skilled artist of all time. I just want to do stuff that feels kind of real and genuine. And with the tools on hand, so I'm a primarily digital artist. I like working in most mediums, and learning new mediums is my favorite thing to do. But 90% of what I do is just made from like Clip Studio, and then, you know, run it through Photoshop or whatever.
Yes.
So you have these tools that are perfect. You have these tools that can achieve complete perfection, but perfection is inherently inhuman. As much as we like to seek perfection, owning it is dissatisfying. So creating work that has like that human touch, whether it be faults, whether it be the loss of detail. I like drawing stuff that's like pretty technically tight, and then just kick it down a staircase until it's completely almost unrecognizable.
The
you
line
know?
quality is just awful and all
Yeah.
dusty, and yeah.
My friend Rowan, who I owe so much to, basically told me that if you want to sell people on the lack of detail, you need it there to lose it. So I like making something quite, technically sound and then fucking it up entirely, because it feels real. It feels like a human decision. It feels like you're more trying to represent something, a vibe. You're trying to create like a fully enclosed experience rather than just be a skill-based illustrator and show everybody what a good little drawing boy I am.
It's also a nostalgic thing to like it reminds me of like old cassette tapes, or like you'd find like some old printed Xerox stuff. Like it reminds me of a style of thing that you don't see very often now because everything is so perfect. I feel like it feels nostalgic.
Yeah, but I mean, we've almost even hit a point where that heavy Xeroxed Slayer Mag style fanzine kind of stuff, it's like you can't jump on. Oh, maybe it's not the same for you guys, but I can't jump on Instagram without having 15 Photoshop actions recommended to me that could basically replicate my style. Like it's so it's like, like I'm not even remotely upset about that stuff. It's like when it's time to move on, it's time to move on. But so there's almost like a kind of that style that felt very 90s, very 1993 or whatever, now feels just as 2022 to me. Just as like, because it's kind of cycled back on itself. I like nostalgia. I don't like how corporate entities use it as a way to drain us. I think Funko Pops are a tax for having cared about something in your life. I'm allowed to say that. I don't think I'm ever going to work with them.
Yeah.
Funko Pops, I know you're listening, but
yeah,
we mean it a little bit, but we're just joking.
These guys don't mean it. I mean it. You guys are vampires. Anyways,
and shout out to our sponsor, Funko Pops, which has nothing to do with art or creative block or our industry or anything.
No. My opinion on Funko Pops, cold, dead-eyed, unblinking trash is mine alone. But yeah, I guess like I hate the way that nostalgia is used. But like as a fucking aging millennial, you're kind of a slave to it. You were never really let out of the crib, culturally speaking. They're gonna make Batman movies until after we're dead. So why not weaponize that need for nostalgia to create something that feels either unsettling or like implants itself in an old feeling that you had, rather than trying to appeal to your more modern sensibilities, which are far more complicated. If you thought it was cool, if you look at it and you would have thought that it was cool when you were like 13, 14 years old, part of you will still think it's cool today.
See,
it's like...
Sorry. Continue your thought.
No, please continue.
No, I was just saying that the veil is being pulled apart, and our audience is realizing that there's more thought behind you than there first appeared. Like we're met at first with the fuck you, and now you're being very thoughtful. And so I feel like our audience is like, oh fuck, he's spitting facts right now.
But you gotta keep in mind, no matter how good these points are that I'm making, look at the end product. It's still just like, oh, what if a fucking, what if a milkshake had a face and an Uzi? Like it's really, like it's really not like, it's not the it's not high art by design. But yeah, I think nostalgia is like definitely weaponized against us, which is I think why analog horror and stuff is so popular right now. Do you guys see a lot of that stuff kicking around?
Yeah, that's a really interesting. It's funny that you bring that up, because as we're talking, I'm also scrolling through your Instagram, and that's the thought that I was having, as like analog horror right now is so big, and I think all the MS Paint and the crunchy pixels and anything that feels like a bygone era, like anything that can pull us away from the smartphones is kind of what I feel like, especially new generations are very excited about. I think there's they're done. They're done with the smartphones.
I'm kind of feeling that vibe too. I'm kind of hoping that by the time Gen Alpha starts turning 19, they're going to be like,
Beepers.
actually, guys, recording funny little skits on TikTok where you pretend to be somebody who lives in a different suburb or from a different time is probably the cringiest thing you could have done. we're just done with that stuff.
Dude. I mean, this is a tangent, but I saw recently a TikTok. So you know how like the biggest trend is like ask a stranger like a question or whatever. And so this guy comes up to these two kids and he's like, real quick, what's your favorite color or something? And one of these kids turns around and is like, don't you have a real job to do? Like, get yourself a 9 to 5. And they just keep walking.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
yeah.
Bullying is back.
Yeah. Like,
No, it's there's hope.
Yeah, I love that kids, like young kids, are now into going back and they're working in the coal mines like in the 1800s for 19 hours a day, and they're getting back to having the coughs, and they're not using the sensors anymore. They're bringing the canaries back into the coal mines to help figure out if there's CO2. And finally, I feel like work ethic is back, self-respect is back, and I hope people start wearing those little chauffeur caps again.
Yeah, I can't wait for the chimney sweep industry to start booming again. You know, porridge sales will be going through the roof.
Little vests, if you invest in little vests, guys.
But we're gonna have like a bunch of kids like Tiny Tim maxing, and then they'll be like, you don't even need that crutch. You don't even have polio, dude. They might have polio, but you know, like that is. You know what? You're right, dude. We're going all the way back.
We're going all the way back.
What were you saying, Vee?
Sorry, we're just.
I was gonna say, what if we monetize brownouts, where you have to pay for your internet and electricity to go out for 5 hours a day?
I was like, I was trying to use context clues to figure out what a brownout was. I was like, is that when you shit so hard that it interferes with the electromagnetic? I was like, what does this mean? That's what
You know how I can see these ads of like it's like a new gadget that you absolutely don't need, but they're like, look, the new keyboard, so you're not distracted by apps, and it's $500 just to type on it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a typewriter with no screen and no internet, and you can buy it.
Exactly.
Yeah, to buy it now in EMP pulse. It'll take out just your house's electricity, and you can sabotage your own house for an hour.
Here at Browner, we have a crack team of their independent contractors, and they're waiting by your power substation with a copper-wired brick that they will throw directly at to take out your power for 5 to 6 hours, so you can just relax and think about you know?
Yeah.
Tired of doom scrolling? Cinder block wrapped in copper wire is waiting for you at Browner.
Do you have all these candles that you're not using?
Yeah.
So many scented candles, but no reason to use them.
You got into candle making in the middle of lockdown, and you never got to use those candles. Copper wired cinder block without T, and it's Browner without an E, by the way. It's like BROWNR.
Some real going back to some primitive anarchist shit.
Hey, it got the job done then. It'll get the job done now.
We're returning back to feudal systems. Do you miss having a big old mud pit in front of your house that you have to shovel every morning?
You tired of when you didn't sit there and just scroll reels giving yourself live action roleplay ADHD for 7 hours a day?
Yeah. I think it would be cool if in the future we had takeout and stuff, but you had to hunt it.
Yeah, right.
You have to hunt the DoorDash
Yeah,
guy?
maybe you hunt the DoorDash guy, and that's like how we go
Right.
back to kind of the primitive, like where, it's
Hunter-gatherer.
exercising. It's like, okay, like I just taught my child how to get his first DoorDash kill, and he needs to take a bite of the heart.
So what they do, instead of releasing a meal, they just show up to your house with a live deer and release it in your front
Oh,
yard.
I just mean that.
And the
I
rest
meant
is
the
it
man.
on you. Oh, you meant the man.
I meant the man, but deer is also fine.
The man
And you
costs
fry
extra,
the
dude.
fries out of his cold hands.
Yeah, you need-
You're like, you still get your
No, it
McDonald's.
could be a deer
No.
with like.
It could be a
It could be a deer with a sushi container, strapped to his back, and you're trying to get it. You have to kill the deer to get the sushi.
Dude, I just can't handle when you open up the app and you get those things where it's like, you could have saved $11 on your last manhunt if you signed up to Uber Eats Premium Plus.
Oh, wait.
Dystopian.
That's so crazy. But yeah, I guess analog horror or like creepypasta or analog technology definitely.
Yeah, it's because
I get.
it's like it's all
Yeah.
it's all like, yeah, it's kind of like nostalgia, but it's not like, hey, here's another Spider-Man movie, And I think like why I think analog horror works so well is like the nostalgia element to it. You're essentially scaring the child in yourself more than you are. Like, it's a suspended disbelief where you sit there and you're like I'm almost certain that there's never actually been a VHS that's possessed a ghost, but there's something about it being like from a time where you would have been more susceptible to believe that kind of stuff, where the mystery and the mystique of it kind of hit a little bit more real, felt a little bit more real. So
Yeah.
couching it in that feels potent or something. I kind of like making stuff that feels nostalgic, that has almost like a hostile message to it, because it I don't know, it just kind of rattles you from the inside a little bit.
Yeah.
That sounds evil.
I use that same sort of logic for like if we go back far enough in history, Camelot does exist. Like it was a real place, and King Arthur was a real guy. And it
What's he up to
wasn't.
now?
I mean, he's a historical figure that died a long time ago,
True.
fighting with
R.I.P.
Merlin and all those guys.
Merlin's not still kicking around? You would have thought if anybody could have worked it out.
Probably great grandson or something. A Wiccan somewhere.
Sorry, I don't really did. But yeah, I didn't want to throw you too far off track there, bud. Sorry. I forgot we were recording a podcast. I was just fucking with
No,
you.
that's the best a podcast can be, is when you forget.
I want to start peppering in some questions from the listeners.
Sure.
Let's start with a very like nitty gritty one. So on YouTube, the Gig Club 8810 asks, how do you make your apparel? Do you make it in house? Do you have a contract with a production company, or do you get it from print on demand services?
Do you sew it?
No.
Do you embroider your own hat?
By hand. I have terrible RSI. No, it's I work with a local company called Redwood Press, and another one called Rad Stickers. My stickers. Been working with them for a long time. I like the quality of screen printed stuff. I like the fact that you can kind of create a history with it. It degrades nicely.
Mm-hmm.
I think vintage shirts are my favorite, so I have this fantasy that one day, 15 years from now, you'll find a t-shirt of mine kind of half ripped to shit and sun faded, and it'll mean all the more for it.
And it'll be selling in a vintage shop for like $400.
If that happens, my ghost will haunt it. But yeah, I do that. I don't screen print my own stuff just for quality and quantity. I guess those are two great reasons, but I'm not good at it, and it'd take a lot to do it. But yeah, so I do that. I go with local guys. I handle all the mail and stuff like that myself. That's probably the least fun part of this whole gig, but I like it better than having a proper boss. But yeah, anything else in that question that I'm missing?
No, I think you covered it all.
Yeah.
And they have a follow-up question,
Sure.
which is, how do you balance the production costs with keeping the pricing affordable?
I'm not a super money motivated guy, so like maximizing profit and stuff is not really a major priority for me. I just kind of want to make enough to kind of get by and not. I don't want to have to get back into working in advertising. So, so I'll do anything I can to not do that. But I also don't need $1 million. So I just try to keep it kind of relatively competitive. I look at what other people are doing. I price it down to a little bit where I feel like I'm still making a decent profit. Again, it's like maintaining a good relationship with the audience. I'm pretty sure, especially during some of the boom times, I could have charged more and made more, but like, to what end? I already have enough swords. I'm good.
Enough swords.
I went to a
That's
real
where
sword.
all of your
I went to a huge
your
sword
income
place.
goes.
Yeah.
What's the coolest
still
sword
have
you
them?
have?
I got a pretty big like double hander kind of bastard sword thing that I like to cut my birthday cake in half with every year. It's my favorite sword. The birthday
I like that
bastard
you have a
sword.
favorite sword.
So funny. All the swords.
I'm an idiot. I think we've made that clear. I spent a lot of my money on swords. I haven't even read Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I wanted to ask, as somebody who, I mean, you know, you have fuck you in the name. It was kind of surprising that you started Twitch streaming, and that's where I met you from. Yeah. What inspired that? What do you like about it? How often do you do it? That kind of thing.
Okay. I started because of lockdown, and it was a synthesizer for social interaction. What I like about it, I've met some very good people, and that's about it. Like, it's Twitch is weird, dude. Twitch is super weird. I mean, I love the chat and the people who show up, and I love hanging out with like you and like some of our friends and stuff that we've made there. I love hanging with all of our friends. I don't know why I said some.
Yeah.
Ari,
Not all of
yeah,
them.
everyone except
Just
Ari Bean things.
Shout out Ari.
No, I hate them. No, I'm kidding. I love Ari. So I, you know, like I liked doing it. It was a nice way to kind of stay social, and I do think there's like a lot of good things about doing it. I like the body doubling aspect, and I like kind of like the randomness of just opening a stream and not knowing what you're going to be drawing, and you might have the worst thing you've ever drawn in your life. I certainly have drawn some of the worst things I've ever drawn on Twitch. I know for a fact you have, Sean.
There's something about drawing on Twitch that it does help me warm up and get loose.
Yeah.
But I will say that there's a lot of drawings that I do on Twitch that I don't feel like I could ever post anywhere because it's so far removed from what would be relatable to anybody to show. So there's a lot of drawings that just sort of like stay on Twitch like after I do them.
All right. Definitely. And you've sent me some of them that should have stayed on Twitch.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I have done some heinous stuff with your characters. And
hey, as a friend, you know, it felt like it was out of love.
It was more out of lust, but no, I'm kidding. No, there was a time where to get his reaction, I drew hentai of the character that he was doing, and then I sent it to him in a private message. And I saw him open it, not on stream, but him reacting to it was very.
It was
fun.
very effective. It was very effective. You can say whatever you like about Lord Spew's work, but it's evocative and it's visceral.
It makes you feel something. It makes you feel something.
Whether or not you want to, that's not what we're asking. You will feel something.
That's at least 4 stars out of 5.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of collaborations, you did the body head logos.
I did do the body head logos. Thanks so much for having me on board with that, man. It really meant something.
These
are so
were
good.
down to do these awesome logos that, like, I mean, Bodyhead didn't have a budget. like you just were like, hey, it would be cool to do, and I was very, very appreciative of it, and they were really cool.
But I think that's what it's about, man. I probably shouldn't say this, but I do like, I like doing freelance and I like doing commissions and stuff. I just, you know, like when weighed up against doing my own thing, it's just not appealing. You know, like you're doing your own thing. Someone's like, hey, we'd love you to do this. And you're like, yeah, but like I don't have to. So where's the appeal? You know, like,
I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm sure like I'm not going to get too distracted. I'll come back to another point later. But my point is like when you offered me that gig, I was like, hell yeah, like this is precisely the kind of thing I'd like to do. Lend your skills and talents to something that supports your pals, and you know, like take it seriously, really lean in, not just do whatever the fuck you want, like, but you know, and have that kind of go to a good place rather than no comment.
No, I get you. For sure. I appreciate it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like yeah, so I do a lot of work for free for people in my life and stuff like that, and just don't post about it.
We won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
We won't tell a soul.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everything that happens on this podcast, no one's gonna hear.
Well, I think
No one's gonna hear
generally
it.
they read the name, and that takes care of it for itself. They go, Baker, I'm good.
Oh, those are some fun questions about soul making art. So on Twitter, Foliage Cat asks 3 questions. The first one, how do you manage to keep up with sharing art twice a week?
Like getting into an art practice with an S for somebody like me is basically the only thing that kind of keeps me on track. I got basically clown on a bicycle brain level of ADHD. So having those self-imposed deadlines is kind of make or break. Because I like art, but I also really love dopamine. And, you know, so it's like, how do you force yourself to do something productive for yourself rather than just spend 7 hours looking at PDFs of old Spanish erotica because you like the classified ads degradation in it, you know, like just someone who's like kind of internally fascinated. It's like setting myself up to be like, all right, I have to post this amount of art per week is what kind of keeps me there and keeps all those interests and stuff kind of funneled into the same thing. Plus, like, to sound like a fucking edgelord about it, I like having a bunch of art that I made, and like I hate feeling like I'm just kind of like rotting away in a cupboard a little bit because I have all of these, you know, oh, it's so hard to make art, or I have creative block. Oh, sorry, the name drop.
No, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
You know,
I mean,
like
this might be the time.
All right, yeah, we can lead into that if you like.
Yeah.
I'm very unsympathetic to my own complaints about why I can't make art right now. So that's basically it. I just go, oh, if I need to, I'll come up with 15 good reasons why I shouldn't do something. Then I won't have anything. So I just kind of ignore all of it. And if I don't have an idea, I just start drawing, or I'll start an idea off like the dumbest, smallest thing. And then you kind of develop a skill doing that. So it all takes care of itself these days, which is nice. I've just kind of set it up so I'm used to moving at a certain pace, and anything less than that feels weird. Anything less than that kind of pushes me back towards, you know, like bumper bowling. Yeah, having like a known deadline for everybody else, being like, you didn't post on Monday, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, that it sounds annoying, but that's the one bumper that keeps me in. The other one is just having a supreme lack of sympathy for my own bullshit.
A lot of your work also has text, so there's a small amount of writing at least that goes into your work. How do you do like your idea generation, or like how do you come up with the phrases?
I like that stuff. You know, I used to write lyrics for bands, and you know, I had a slight foray into stand up. I thought I'll give it a go, and I did it for like a year and a half, and it is not for me. It's not like, but you know, so like you kind of get into the headspace of like, oh, this is a funny way to put this, or there's a double meaning behind this, you know, and just was like, I really like graphic tees, I really like graphic design, I really like, you know, skateboard art, I really like that kind of practical illustration work, and usually that had. Do you remember like the era of like someone would do a design and they would put like your band name here or whatever? I got the reasoning behind that, but like if a band wanted your work, they would just ask for it anyways, kind of thing. Like I know that it was there to make your stuff feel available, but I was like, what if I just wrote whatever the fuck I wanted instead of it having to be a band logo or a placeholder text, and I'll just come up with little images that kind of have a vibe or something to them, and then they kind of became their own thing on top of that kind of stuff. So like as far as writing pithy little stuff, I take a long shower. I'll think of like a fun little turn of phrase that sticks in my head. I'll write it down. I'll kick it around for a while. Generally don't change it. Like, you can always tell like when I've like manicured something too much because the verbiage is just like really, like, it's just so convoluted, you know? Like, I want to say like throw yourself in front of a bus, but you know, like the artwork's like, you know, rend thy corpse in front of a municipal vehicle or something, you know? It's like, all right, man, it was 3 a.m. and you really needed to crank that one out, huh? Like, but, you know, it's like, I think there's something to punch in the clock with stuff as far as having a schedule and stuff, you know? I want to be a capital A artist, and I think part of that is not just making work when it suits me. And yeah, part of that art making process is just like, what is fun sayings? Would it be something cool to fucking read or something cool to wear on a shirt? And kind of have as a bit of social body armor when people see you on site. So yeah, it all kind of marries into itself. I think everybody's got like a pretty broad range of skills, but you kind of expect that you have to pare them all down to make art, which to me feels like a robbery.
Feels like a robbery. It's pretty cool. That's funny because I was going to be a second question from Foliage Cat was going to be the writing, but
I just
the
answered all
third
that.
question.
By the way, I recognize the name Foliage Cat. I had like a whole mail mishap with them where I tried to send them a bunch of packages, and for whatever reason, they just weren't making it there. I have sent them off again, fingers crossed. So apologies to Foliage Cat. They've been very, very patient. I feel amiss if I didn't say something.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, they have one last question for you, which is
Third
throwing
question,
up.
get fucked, Foliage Cat. Get out of here. You asked for too much. I turn it back. Run it all back. Get out of here. I'm kidding.
You never know what kind of baker we're gonna get from one moment to the next.
The bipolar
Baker
switch is
roulette.
flipped.
No. Did you intend on becoming a full-time artist growing up?
I mean, that's always the dream. Like, I always was like, I want to work in cartoons. I want to draw. Like, I've been one of those dudes who, like, life illustrator and stuff. And it being, like, a viable career is something that, like, I kind of didn't... Like, I wanted, but I couldn't foresee happening. I think that's pretty common. So, like, there was times in my life where I really gave it a go. It didn't really turn out the way that it was. Like my art and the kind of art that I liked making didn't really have much of a place before Instagram, you know, being someone who didn't really want to do freelance necessarily, but also like I don't love galleries. I don't love the gallery system. I love working with the galleries that I have, but those are by design pretty unique places. Shout outs to Super Chief. But you know, like, so yeah, like if you didn't want to just jump onto the kind of freelance wheel or the commission wheel and you weren't kind of very willing to do like gallery stuff or weren't a good fit, like there just wasn't a place for you. So there was kind of a couple stop starts before that. And then, yeah, like once all the Instagram stuff started, it just so happened that like, I guess I was like right place, right time with the kind of art that I was making, very quickly digestible kind of stuff. Am I answering the question? I can't tell you.
No, that's good because you're talking about how you wanted to do it, but you didn't see a way forward with doing it.
Yeah.
And so you actually kind of had to give it up for a little bit, and that before Instagram came around.
Yeah, so like the idea of like I was doing weird shit. I did a lot of live art installations back in the day where I would like be at a club and everybody would be getting drunk and I would have to like sit there and paint stuff for drunk people, which is
Was that gig work? Was that like something that people reached out to you to do?
It was something that like I did a couple times at some club nights, and then it became like a thing that was like, oh, these guys do this. And it was me and a kind of little collective of friends. And we would like paint all this stuff, and then next thing you know, it's like The Last of Us is coming out and we need to paint a mural for The Last of Us at this event for some reason. And it's like, you're just creating visual noise for people at an event to, simulate to kind of, what's the word? Obscure the fact that you're just basically standing around a bunch of TVs and PlayStations. Like we need to make this feel a bit more exciting than someone sitting in their living room. So, I was doing that kind of stuff and like really weird kind of gig work or whatever. And, at that point I was like, well, this is about as far as I could go. I don't think there's any appeal for my work on its own. So I I hope that someday I get so good at doing freelance that people ask me to do my own thing, kind of thing. And then when Instagram and stuff kind of came around, and you could be you could stand next to your work on your own terms a lot better. I had a Tumblr, I had all that shit, but you know, that had the most kind of like wide appeal. That's when I was like, oh, hang on a second, like I might actually get to do this for a living. I might actually get to kind of break out of this freelance kind of commission kind of stuff and take a shot at doing my own thing.
That is so cool.
So yeah, to answer your question, I hope for it. I didn't expect it. I'm very grateful for it. And I guess that's also kind of why like I'm very sensitive about handing it back over. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I like having the reins.
Yeah, that's the dream, honestly.
I feel incredibly lucky. Like, because you know, I know what it's like to not be in this position, and I'm fully expecting that one day the wheel of relevancy will turn, and I will no longer be able to run fast enough.
That's so scary. Do you think about that a lot?
A little bit. You know, I think it's like, especially with like just how emphoric, like, disposable. Sorry, I hit my head. I use weird words. Like, just how disposable art is, you know, like the shelf life of something like that. I think everybody, you do it for long enough and you're like, I think I want to make something that has a little bit more permanence than, you know, something that no one will see in 18 hours time. But at this point, like, that'll be your artistic, like, legacy and name or something. I think, like, people will remember my, like, just the attitude behind my work and what it meant to them in those times, rather than, like, any one artwork that I did, hopefully.
Yeah, what if in the future all the nerds have attitude and all the cool people are really nice and sincere and corny?
You mean like Gen X's? Like...
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Oh, they were angry nerds because like being a jock was like mainstream culture. We're on the back end of 12 years of Marvel movies. What do they got to be angry about?
True. Yeah, I just mean that like that's a world where your style has become not cool, like, I guess is what I mean.
Oh yeah, like being like antisocial is like the coolest thing. Again, Gen X. Sorry, Gen X.
Sorry, Gen X. On Patreon, Puzzle Glum asks, what's the hardest part of running your own shop, and what is your favorite part? We've kind of touched on it, but I think we can go into some more nitty-gritty annoying thing about running your own shop.
Like, I don't think I'm good at it. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing at any time. I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome because it works, and I don't think that there's like a proper, I don't know, there's no guideline for it, but I think the worst part is just constantly being like, am I fucking this up and don't realize? I've fucked up so many things, like mislabeling like postage and stuff like that. So the worst thing is definitely being like, what trap have I set for myself in 3 weeks time that's going to cost me $1,600? That is the worst part. My favorite part is like, you know, like to be real and not to get too sappy, people write me a lot of messages in like the mailing notes and all that kind of stuff, talking about how excited they are to get stuff, or, you know, it's almost like this weird kind of like financial pen pal thing with certain people.
You've
out
renewed
there.
my hate in the world. No. No.
But yeah, like, so, you know, when people send me that kind of stuff, like, it actually, you know, it's directly interfacing with people that financially support my work, financially support me. These are the people who kind of keep me breathing. So it's like, it's great to hear back from them. It's my favorite part, to be real. It's like part of the reason why I still package all the mail myself is because I don't want some other weirdo reading all the messages. And I think I'd really miss them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
What if you had an assistant that just sent them out and then you get all the stuff that comes in?
Again, it's like I have to talk to more people.
No, I get it.
I mean, I'm up at like 4 a.m. sending everybody shit and just kind of like unslept and stuff. And it's like, I don't know if I could bring somebody else into that. I think ethically, Like, hey, I got a job for you. Would you like to live like a fucking goblin half
Yeah.
of your life?
You're gonna have to just make a nepo baby at some point that you can bring into your business. That'll go. It'll be your son. It'll be your little son.
Someone to take over my sludge empire.
Sludge up.
Unfortunate nepo babies. I think that's my favorite takeaway. Where it's like, yeah, I'm a nepo baby, but like I inherited a bunch of shit you don't want.
Yeah, I inherited a curse. It's a hereditary curse.
I always think about oh god, See, now these are the okay. Now fuck it. It's owned by the mouse now. I think about Brian Henson and the Muppets all the time, and how he had to like take over like his dad's empire as like a puppet guy. Like he's a puppet guy.
But no one's ever gonna really know about him that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like he's also like he's like doing puppet stuff, but he's trying to break out of his dad's shadow by doing like sexy, weird adult puppet stuff. You know? Like, and I was like, that is such a weird thing to inherit from your dad. It's like
Yeah.
It's like a sense of like puppet inadequacy.
Puppet inadequacy. That's crazy because it's kind of like how like Miyazaki has a son and he's trying to do animation too, and it's this kind of like
he
weird
thinks
thing.
his son sucks.
Yeah, he thinks the son sucks. But now imagine that drama, but you put it with puppets, and all of a sudden it becomes like insane.
My work sucks. I can see it. I saw a part of your forearm on that shot over the top of the foreground backdrop. You're a hack.
I never wanted your puppets anyway. I'll just make them sexy, Dad. You'll see.
The puppet didn't cheer me up as much as it could have.
Miyazaki's dad being like, my son's cartoons suck, and then you look at them and they're just like 2003 Newgrounds cartoons.
Oh man, I wish it was just like Stick Death. Like, I wish Miyazaki's son was making Stick Death cartoons.
Like Miyazaki's son's making Stick Death cartoons to like drowning pools, like let the bodies hit the floor.
It's just new. It's just rap rock. Shut up, Dad. My dad doesn't understand me.
And I'm about
Honestly,
to break.
That would be so great because like his cartoons are basically exactly like Miyazaki's cartoons.
Yeah, he has to draw in his dad's drawing style for his whole life.
That's rough. Like,
I think about that a lot. I'm like, damn, like I would just take a different career. I would go into puppets at that point,
Yeah.
Just, like,
I guess that's what I guess that's what I'm aiming for. I want to make enough of a living inside of art that I can do it until the day that I die, but I don't want to be so good that I fuck up my son's life.
True.
Just drop like a creative warhead in his lap for the rest of his existence to tangle with.
Talking about permanence, Kitty Fries 91.5 on Blue Sky asks, how'd you get over the fear that you're permanently drawing on someone?
Oh, with tattooing?
Mm-hmm.
If you spend enough time in a tattoo studio, you see some of the dumbest stuff you've ever seen in your life, and it doesn't ruin their lives. I've tattooed... Well, I designed the tattoo. My mate Shags tattooed it. It was the Mango Loco Monster Energy drink logo behind a guy's ear. This was a man in his 50s. So at that point, you're just kind of like, I think this will be okay. Like, I've learned how to throw a line without it blowing out. Like, anything that kind of happens after this will be fine. It is great, though. Like, I love it. I love tattooing.
I was at a tattoo shop when my buddy got a quote tattooed on his leg, and it was just spelled wrong. But they didn't realize until...
Like, on purpose?
No, the quote, it was like missing a whole word or something.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That would be crazy. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
You just got to add it to the end and then say it's like a Yoda quote or something.
Yeah, draw a little carrot, above that with the word like insert here.
Insert here.
Little asterisk in the comment after it. Little asterisk.
Yeah. And it's on their butt cheeks, like the replacement word.
And then are you saying the butthole is the asterisk?
No, that is great.
Oh. Okay.
No, that is great.
Okay.
Ooze God on Blue Sky asks, how do you go about bringing a sudden strike of inspiration to paper or tablet? Do you leave notes for yourself to come back to later in terms of ideas you want to draw? Or do you usually just start a piece with an idea you had in the moment?
It's an annoying answer, but it's both. My life is a mess of notes and different things that I keep down. I have chats that, like, after my death, if someone read it to myself, it would sound like I was just sending myself ominous threats constantly because I just like the wording of something, you know? Like, if you've got an idea, just save it. I know that's super obvious. Come up with a fun way to save it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, whenever you're like low on inspo, just like rummage around in the bag. I've got like a folder of like sort of okay sketches that I've done that I want to fuck with. And then, yeah, sometimes going back and letting it marinate is the way to go. But like, if you want to capitalize straight off something, write it down. Try to remember what you like about it. Like, don't think you'll remember every single detail. Like, you'll remind yourself. If you're anything like me, you won't. You'll just write down and you'll just be like, yellow circle, blue man, what the fuck is that?
Suck my dick on Earth.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Yeah, I'm sure that was a much better idea before I read the thing, and I was like... that was probably, you know, 700-page graphic novel before I just read the note and then was like, well, I suck my dick on Earth. That's nothing.
It's face value.
Yeah. But, yeah, I have, like, so many stupid ways of keeping notes and stuff like that. Yeah, I chat to myself on, like, social media platforms. I have a text document constantly open on my desktop on my PC. I have, like, notepads and stuff like that. Most of my stuff on my iPad is sketches and stuff. Like, yeah, like, capitalizing on it and getting it down, like, just try to note down, like, all the details that you remember about it that you like. Even if it's a vibe of something, even if it was something that, like, inspired you, like, save that photo, you know? Like, just anything that can kind of re-spark that idea if you're away from your computer or whatever. Otherwise, it's just, like, start something and just let your taste kick in and go, like, okay, I've drawn this. Like, what would I like to see with this thing, you know? And build up iteratively. And sometimes, you know, because it's all your taste and it's all your perspective and stuff. And, you know, we like what we like. You'll find that a lot of this stuff marries up pretty easily. Sometimes I'll do a sketch and then I'll go, fuck, I had a line that would actually work for this pretty well. And then just push those things together. And then...
Oh, hell yeah.
Some of those have been, like, some of the more, like... Weirdly, you would think that would make it more disjointed, but some of those things kind of resonate more with people. Some of those things kind of land harder, and maybe it's because it's two potent ideas pushed together because they kind of match a little bit. It's the Candy Crush school of illustration where you find matching colored gems and push them together.
It's the snoods. The snoods of... I feel like one of the more frustrating things I do when I'm around my friends is when we're talking and we say a funny idea, I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll start writing it down in my phone in the middle of the conversation.
That's so funny. I'm terrible at keeping notes. I try and I always, I don't know, I am trying to build that habit of grabbing the phone or noting it down, but it's hard to kind of always be on the, what's it called?
To be, like, on the mark with that kind of stuff, like, to kind of get it in the
yeah,
moment.
to, like, okay, like, oh yeah, I gotta write it down here.
I mean, so much, it's like remembering a dream sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, you start to lose the fragments of it as you try to grip it harder and harder. But yeah, like, it's honestly the idea of just sitting down and, like, raw dogging and creating a whole thing off the rip like that. I don't know how you do it, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's so hard. No, I agree. I think, like, a lot of the time having at least jumps, like, not starting from, like, a white page, like jump starting like a drawing from I don't know, I used to be really good at having like folders with photos that I would find online that I thought were cool, and then I would like just save a bunch of JPEGs.
Yeah.
And anytime I wanted to like draw something, I would just look through JPEGs that I had saved and be like, oh yeah, I want to draw something like that.
I think it's like getting like sometimes I'll even like I'll get like 7 images that I like together, right? And I go like, I like all of these, and I'm just gonna try and incorporate something I like from each one of these as kind of an art practice. And then I find by the time I get to the end of it, because the density of the inspirations is so like, it's like you've got like all these different inspos, you're gleaning a little bit from the rest of it, and once you've kind of got your own like perspective and lens kind of tuned in, anything that you shine through that's inherently just going to feel more you, and you'll make more decisions as you go along. And so you're like, there's works that I've done where I'm like, this feels super derivative, and I know that because I know where it came from, but like I don't think anybody else seeing that, even if they saw the original image, would be like, this is what this is, because it's so diluted. Like that's inspiration, but like trying to turn that into kind of a process that you can repeat when you're feeling like backed up and stuff like that, I think helps me take like a kind of sidestep around the creative block thing, and just, gets me moving. Once the pen's going, like you just got to let the taste kick in.
On Instagram, Amanda, similar art. Sorry about that, Amanda. So I'd love to know your process for producing such iconic, stylized illustrations, and some of the inspiration behind how you write the amazing phrases on each piece. I think we've touched on a lot of that already, but maybe iconic. Maybe like the way we could kind of touch on that would be like the purely just like doing the work. Like let's pretend you're like, okay, it's that day today, I gotta post a drawing.
What does that day look like?
Yeah, what's that? How much time does it take? And like, what are your kind of steps? Like, do you dig into your sketchbook?
I mean, like, I'm gonna have to do that today after this, basically.
Me too.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like, I guess it's like whatever approach is like most appealing at the time, So sometimes it's like I just want to try out an art style, and then I will play with that until I have something that I think is like worth kind of putting in the books and going, all right, that's what I did today, Iconic designs is such a high praise for such low fruit.
High praise, low fruit. I feel like is your art book name when you do one.
I'm actually working on right now.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
No way. You heard it first on Creative Blog.
You actually did. I haven't really mentioned it. I haven't really mentioned it because it's always like one of those things where it's like if it doesn't happen, it'd be deeply embarrassing.
Exclusive. Iconic.
I'm calling it Born on Fire.
Oh.
But yeah, so it'll just be like a collection of stuff from Instagram. If it happens, I'll let you know. If it doesn't,
dude, that's sick.
This was a prank.
This was a prank. I think for the final questions for listeners, because I mean, unless you want to also answer the funny ones, like favorite fruit.
Yeah, let's go for it. I like the banana. I have one that I draw. His name's Pissman.
There's a photo. Is it a photo of the banana? I saw it on your Instagram, and like the little like bit of it is towards the camera, and I was like, that is oddly sexual. Yeah. Yeah, he's a little sculpture.
Yeah. I did a toy making course at a place called This Is Not a Toy Store. It's like an art toy store in East Brunswick, Melbourne. If you're a Melbourne local, please check it out. It's run by really good people. And it's like such a cool, fun, creative space. They did like a toy making course where I learned to do like resin casting and sculpting. And yeah, I just made like a very caked up little banana guy with a beret. But yeah, no, yeah, sorry. What was the question?
You answered it. It was favorite fruit. You answered it.
That's the phrase of the episode.
Did I answer the question?
What was the question?
I wasn't lying about the ADHD, guys.
No, I like it. No, you're answering everything well. You're good.
Thanks, man.
There's a scripted question from Nutter Butter 369 on YouTube. They ask, has anyone seen Dog with the Blog?
Dog with a blog. No, sorry, I haven't.
No.
Sorry, Nutter Butter 369.
Nutter Butter, is that your blog?
Is that your blog? Tell us in the comment, Nutter Butter, because we're confused. I just wanted to know if anybody knew. And the final question from Mew Mew Panic: who are your favorite character inspirations? Characters that stand out and are memorable to you. I think that can be kind of like in parallel to like the kind of like characters that you draw in your designs.
I always have such a hard time answering this. Gosh, I mean, my inspirations are like I really like Jamie Hewlett of like the Gorillas and Tank Girl fame growing up. I really liked the comic books of like I was like a big indie comics guy, so I really liked things like The Tick and Scud and even Bone and all these kind of less than superhero kind of stuff, you know, like weird little characters or whatever. Dog with a blog. Okay.
Yeah, I see Sean is like, if y'all are like listening on Spotify, make sure you check out the YouTube episode because we have the image now and I'm so confused. Dog with a by this show.
I wonder what the blog is about having to live with this fucking family.
Because it's a Disney TV show,
Yeah.
apparently. So it doesn't look like it's going to be ironic, but it looks like the perfect little family with a white picket fence and the dog, and I don't know what the draw for
This
that show would be.
Image is pretty good.
Chat,
No.
is this real?
Okay. I get it
Okay, now we get it. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Sorry for the interruption.
Sorry,
Now we know.
that was the. We'd like to thank the official sponsor of this episode, Disney. Dog with a Blog, now available on Disney Plus.
Disney is gonna take us down. Copyright strike.
Use my name. Use my code. Fuck you. Just had to check out for 2 months free. Yeah, no. So I liked, but you know, I like stuff like the game Metal Slug and Hello Kitty. But I love Miffy, the character Miffy. I'm a big fan of. Dick Bruno, big Dick Bruno. You know, I like simple stuff. I like kind of big cartoony dumb stuff, and I also like incredibly dark, grim things. And this kind of felt like a marriage of it. It's basically a recipe that'll ensure that somebody tells you that your artwork reminds them of Happy Tree Friends every 37 hours.
That's so funny. That must be so annoying.
I've gotten that a few times also.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah.
I'm
you
just
can't
like
draw
I'm just kind of like
cute and gory at the same time, or it's over. It's over.
shout outs to fucking Happy Tree Friends for their endearing cultural legacy. I don't know if they've done anything in a while, but people remember.
Do the new generations even know Happy Tree Friend? I wonder if anybody listening to this episode is Gen Z. Tell us if Happy Tree Friends is known.
Does anyone with a
known
full head of
property.
hair remember Happy Tree Friends?
Because I think that's a millennial thing,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
There's somebody out there where Happy Tree Friends is their like Bugs Bunny, like older cartoons. It's their Steamboat Willie, or like
It's their Steamboat Willie.
just like
Get out of
that's
here.
a class. That's the classic old cartoon. You know?
When Happy Tree Friends enters public domain.
yeah,
That would be crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Amazing. Yeah, so I don't know, like inspiration and stuff. It's like everything just kind of gets thrown into the soup. I think like probably out of fear of me accidentally like flat out plagiarizing somebody. So, but I love a lot of like love a lot of stuff, but I try not to focus too hard on it.
Well.
What's the future that you want to work towards? You're tattooing a bit. Are you working on anything like the gallery series? I don't know. Like is there something that you want to be doing that you're working towards that, it might not be out yet? I've
been working on a comic project for like the last couple of years, kind of
cool.
secretly, just kind of making it for myself and like a small group of friends. But, if it's worth presenting to people at some point, I probably will. I've kind of shown some people some stuff here and there. I've entered the world that you've been dabbling in yourself, Spew, of Bible fan fiction.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go.
It is true, dude. The Bible OCs, the expansion pack, you know.
I'm such
You
a
know?
I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan.
Thank
I was
you.
really worried about doing like Bible stuff because I have friends who are Catholic, and I was like, oh, I don't want to offend them. But I had coffee with one of my friends, and I told her, I was like, I think I want to make a zine called the Book of Judas, where it's Judas and Jesus and their hot steamy love. And she was like, yeah, it's cool.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, there's a lot of Catholics that don't even like their religion that much. So, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I mean, you'd hope that people can have a sense of humor about it. I mean, there, like that cartoon that I released, Bible OCs, you know, there's a person that'll comment on it that name is like John the Apostle with a little cross in the name, and he'll say something like, repent, you have sinned, and then someone underneath named like 100 bugs in a trench coat will be like, actually, I think he's being pretty positive about it. You know, it's just this crazy comment section results where it's just people with really stupid names getting really serious about the stupidest thing that I've ever made, you know?
I love that when you get a grip on the people that like your stuff, and you're like, oh, it's fucking Shrek Light 32 is like supporting me. I'm glad I'm on the same side as like shower beers or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Ladybug
figure out
Badunkadunk loves my work.
Yeah.
And
Sonic OC Clearance Warehouse has really got my back.
Yeah, dude. Defending me from the missionary crusaders that are entering my profile.
Well, I think if you're going to upset anybody, it may as well be the forgiveness guys, right?
That's true. The forgiveness guy.
The forgiveness guys.
Forgiveness guys, like, that's such a funny way. It's like that could be
That's the name of
show.
That's the
new
rebrand.
religious podcast.
By the way, have you guys seen the Vatican's new anime mascot?
I love it.
I
I'm all
did
about
see
it.
the mascot. It's
I
funny
love
because I follow. I'm friends with someone who's very practicing, and she had a whole like thing where she was like, "Oh, I don't know if we should have a mascot."
Isn't Jesus our mascot? What the fuck? Yeah, I mean, like,
and then she like you know, like kind of like turned around and was like, I guess she's kind of cute. Well, here's a drawing of her. It was really funny.
Was it the criticism turns to hate, the hate turns to understanding, the understanding turns to love? Like...
And then it was accepted.
Yeah. The Rule 34 for the Vatican mascot begins, and then
oh no,
dude, there's so much. There's a lot, and it's weird.
What an insane reason to go to hell.
That's the reason that's written
like,
down.
I don't know if it's real. I don't know. I haven't been yet. But you get down there and someone's like, what did you do? Oh, I was a torturer in the 15th century. What did you do? I fucked myself up with a Wacom pen and an Oakeki board. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down here for the long haul because, you know, I was making people in Discord chat giggle.
Yeah, I feel like one of my like the second cartoon that I ever released was called Megapope, which it's very convoluted, but it's like they find Jesus's remains and then clone his brain and then put that into a recently deceased pope who's enhanced by cyber technology, and they put him in charge of the Vatican. And basically they regret their decision because Jesus is a very nice, good person, but is absolutely insane. And he's like running around doing crazy stuff. And so the Cardinals are trying to do damage control and try to keep the secret from getting out. And that's basically what the cartoon was about.
And you're saying this is a high concept idea?
No, I
Of your
just mean that
reanimated
explaining.
It's
just
a
mean
PR
that
nightmare.
explaining this the premise of this main character is
It's a little-
complicated.
It's got a good 30 sets of legs underneath it, man. That's a real caterpillar of an idea.
Yeah, and they hire a speech writer to write his speech to make sure that he doesn't like say anything nuts, but the speech writer is like someone who's second guessing his faith, and
my God.
decides to have like he has this like dilemma: do I expose Megapope or not? But yeah, so I remember screening that, and I had a very religious friend. Who I was like, "What'd you think?" And he was like, he just didn't say anything.
Oh no.
He just looked at me, and he was like, "It's animated well, dude." And then he like walked away.
I mean, you couldn't expect it much more, you know?
Yeah, but the problem is in all of these things that I'm making, Jesus is the hero in it. Jesus is the hero in
What's
it, dude.
crazy to me in all this is that, Sean, you're not at all interested in religion like that, and you make so much religious propaganda.
Yeah, it's like, what's the expansion
What?
pack for the
Oh,
Bible?
heaven forbid a guy have a hobby, okay? You know?
You call the gymnasiums and you tell them you want to be a warrior, a Christian warrior.
Oh, there's that too. Yeah, the prank call that I used to do was I would call different gyms and I would say I'm a Christian warrior who's trying to recruit a team of the top 10 Christian MMA fighters to fight the top 10 atheists. And and I would go into detail about how I'm a virgin and I've saved all my strength for the ring, and I'm looking for other people who've kind of like saved their strength in that way.
Dude, you should have been on Rogan with this, man. You should have just been on Rogan lying, talking about like, you know, your semen retention based MMA like plan.
Yeah.
He would have.
Yeah, I'm about to explode, which makes me so strong. I'm so volatile.
I'm saving myself for marriage and the octagon.
Yeah, dude. The only marriage I'm interested in is the marriage of violence in the ring against these non-believers. Anyway, you are right. I do use that a lot, and I also get a lot of comments.
Guy.
I get a lot of comments that are like, "Well, where's your one about the Quran?" That's the main Christian angry response is like, "Why are you just picking on us?"
Why are you just picking on us? That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, would you though? Would you? Okay, we don't have to get that spicy. We don't have to get that spicy.
Sorry, I'm laughing so hard at that. That is.
It would be funny to do like another Megapope and like Muhammad's in it, but he's always off screen. Like
He's like the Bosley
You don't
from
have to
Charlie's
depict
Angels.
him because you can't draw him. He's always off screen talking or something. Like I think that would be interesting. And
That still ruffle some feathers, I feel.
I have a feeling that it would ruffle some feathers.
Well, that's how I mean, we don't have to get into something too real, but yeah, South Park, like they got like in real trouble with that, and then they had to like censor it because I think originally they had him, and then they censored.
I
it.
mean,
I recall that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I like that idea that like I won't find this funny until somebody else is also made fun of.
Right. Prove to me that you don't just hate us, that you hate all of us equally.
All
You're like, sorry,
religion.
I just don't know how to make fun of them as effectively.
I feel like, yeah. Well, you gotta make fun of Buddha. You know, like that manga? Have you guys read that manga, Saint Young Men, where it's
No.
Jesus and Buddha and they're roommates? And I forget exactly the premise how they got there, but like they're just kind of like, oh yeah, it's like you can have when you're on Earth together, and Jesus is like this very like hot-headed, extremely emotional guy. He's like crying all the time, and Buddha is very like
Just chill.
chill. But there's this kind of like running joke that every time he's slightly hungry, all the animals come running to him and like present themselves for him to eat.
Just like fall over and get bitten.
Yeah, Yeah, it's really funny. And there's one where
Swans
like,
diving into his mouth.
oh, and when Jesus gets really emotional, he like his the blood comes out of his hands and from the crown. You know the so he's like bleeding all over. What
It's
is it called? The
the stigmata.
yeah, the stigmata. The stigmata starts bleeding.
That's so hard.
That is hard.
Should we talk more about art stuff before we wrap it up, or do you just want to end it on the Jesus stuff?
We can cut all the Jesus stuff too.
No, that's fine. I don't mind.
I'm not scared. Listen, I made the cartoons. if you know, they're out there, I stand by them. I like them. I think they're stupid. I think they're sufficiently stupid enough to decrease the threat that I pose on the Christian nation or whatever. I think that they're stupid enough.
The justice privilege, man. Like
You shouldn't. I think that no one should feel threatened by me. I'm not planning anything.
I'm a big fan of justice privilege. I put all of my stat points into that, into justice privilege.
Yeah, you can say a bunch of stuff and no one take me seriously. I'm just a funny guy.
I'm just fucking around. Come on, man.
Any last words of art wisdom before we wrap it up?
It's like an uncomfortable topic, but can we talk about like AI for a sec?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so like I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I don't think there's an artist making stuff actively who can avoid thinking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like when you make work online long enough, you hear a lot of let's just say people's complaints about it, or maybe excuses or something, or reasons to not create work, right? And right now, more than ever, I feel like there's so many things pointing to you about like a sense of hopelessness, or you know, what's the point? Like that kind of, God, there's a better word for it, but you get the idea. It's just difficult to feel like there's any security in making art going forward when you have a computer that you can type a sentence into and then get a very strangely specularly highlighted, hyper detailed artwork out of it.
Too smooth. Too smooth, very colorful.
Very smooth. Very mobile game ad vibes on.
Yes.
Like...
I will say I am obsessed with these like, have you guys seen these like shit posts of these cats? Like it's like a telenovela in 30 seconds with cats generated in AI, and
God.
it's always like they come together and they like get married, but then the wife dies and the kid is born anyway. Like it's insane shit, and I'm like, listen, I'm glad I didn't have to draw that. I mean, I'm only gonna remember this for 1 second.
On stream, they had me watch this new entirely AI made music video by the rapper Riff Raff, and it's like really really bad, almost unwatchable. I lost interest. Like you lose interest 1 minute and it's like 5 minutes, and.
Ugh.
Like nothing is on. Well, first of all, nothing is on beat.
Yeah.
There's nothing timed on beat. Everything just. There's one thing about AI is there's no flow or ease or timing. So all of a sudden something will just go really fast and come towards the camera and then like turn into something else. And it's like really disorienting. So I think it's things like that that remind me that like this is never truly going to replace what I do.
Yeah.
I also think I was thinking about this the other day, and this might sound pretentious, but when we invent teleportation, there's going to be a lot of people that miss out on a really cool journey. And that's what art is for me. Like art isn't just about a finished thing that you can post. Like it's making it is one of the best parts. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, like you guys talk about things like, you know, like brands and content and social media approaches and stuff. And I think it's like there's a lot of focus on that stuff because that stuff can represent a certain level of career security. You know, like if you have an audience, you can then gain support from that audience or whatever. But like social media is a complete shit fire right now. Like pretty much across the board.
So fucking weird. Like
and like
yeah.
And like I think like most of us can be blamed for creating things that would fit within the framework of social media. But like, it's so far removed from the reason why you do anything. You know, like at the end of the day, like I like getting better at making art, and I like showing it to people that like it. I started to conflate the idea of likes and the idea of like a following with some level of success or acceptance for my work. But now it just feels like, how good are you at fitting into Mark Zuckerberg's idea of what content should be on this platform? And are you willing to pay to boost this stuff? Are you willing to move into mediums and file formats that we can better monetize to, you know, and like the idea of becoming like a content creator is like, it feels so anti-artist to me, because it removes your personal stake in making that stuff, which is to improve it and to have people like kind of validate it, you know, kind of sit there and go, I like this. This meant something to me. And if it means something real to you and it means something real to somebody else, like that is the most potent inspiration for me personally. I think it's got to be pretty across the board from people I've talked to as well. And like, yeah, like I think right now, like the reason why I bring up the AI and the reason why I bring up that stuff is like, I'm just sick of people feeling disheartened about making art, you know, like social media has been a part of our lives for about 11 years. Like now, you know, in a major way like this. Facebook even longer. Fucking, you know, if you have a live journal, I'm sorry I missed your funeral. But it's okay. I had one back in the day. But you know, it's like you know, like you got to keep focus of why you're doing this shit. And I think especially now, it's like when you sit there and you look at like AI and the way that people are trying to use it as a way to replace creative careers and creative avenues and even replace creativity according to some of their fucking briefs. You know, it's like, you can't let these fucking ghouls have this shit. You know, it's specialty for a reason. It keeps something in you fucking burning. Like, just make it. Just make art. Just don't think about it.
That's like such... Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I 100% agree with this take in the sense that there is right now, I think, a general like fed upness with the general audience and seeing the slop that kind of comes out of like, you know, the big corporations pushing the same like reboots. And in some kind of a way, I like to frame it as, well, maybe this is us getting set free. Finally, we don't have to work on the millionth reboot of this obscure superhero that we don't even really give a shit about. That's only there just to kind of...
What if Scooby-Doo, but it was this?
Yeah. And it's just it's scary and hard because we don't really know how to pave the way for how to be a working artist. But I think people want art and need art, and you can see it by all of the like indie shit, and I think that is popular and pops off, and I think people always want to connect with each other in a way that is genuine, and AI art I think is just going to become that. Like, it's just, you know how have you guys seen these posts where people are like, why is corporate graphic design so soulless, you know, with the little characters that all look, they're like simple shapes with like bright colors.
It's called Memphis something.
The Memphis 3. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
so we're talking about?
I'm glad we brought this up. Send them back. No. God, it's called like Memphis something. God.
I didn't even know it had a name.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, flat shapes and non-offensive, and you know, I think now that we have like all this tech that can basically just belt out the most like soulless generic shit, it's even though it's like at a high level, you know, like Midjourney can render better than I can, but unfortunately for Midjourney, I'm a human being and humans like humans, like. You know, like there's something that I think inherently like our ape brains just hates about knowing that like a human being didn't touch something. Like if a robot made you a steak, it might be delicious, but part of me would be like, I don't want to eat the fucking robo steak, man. Like you don't have a dude that can just throw this shit on back there. Yep. Like I just like it knowing that like a human being is involved. As a human being, sorry to be fucking biased.
I feel like AI art there's something about it that there's a look to it. I think that it's gonna affect certain jobs, but overall it's gonna wear off a little bit. Like people don't genuinely I don't think people are gonna genuinely like, I don't know, AI art in everything. I think that it has a look and it's weird and it feels soulless, and there's going to be people that use it. So here I wrote down 2 quick takes about AI. One is that the trends that I see is you know how art used to be. There was this phase where like everything was real random, like it was like millennial, whatever, like random art, random ideas, random sounds, whatever.
Are we talking like pizza, inverted crucifix, vomiting cat?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, rainbow cupcake.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, there was a phase that we went through that's like that. I think that AI is taking that to such an extreme everywhere on social media that in the future we're mainly going to be interested in grounded stuff, because anything else is going to feel AI-y. Like it's so outlandish and weird that it's like, oh, that's going to be AI. My other one is that my personal feeling is that people that would rather have AI do the art than a human, those people would suck to work for anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my
How
main.
dare you
that's
say
my
that
way.
about Marvel?
But that's the thing. These companies are going to start.
So correct about that.
These companies are going to start to use it and then realize that it's so unwieldy to get the same result several times that like people love giving notes. Executives love giving little tiny notes, and AI is hard to give notes to like that. And I think I don't know if it's going to be what they want.
Yeah, I think like for me, it's like, sorry, you do you. I can hold off the red V. You go first.
Oh no, I was just gonna no. You go because with the Marvel and execs, because I had another thought. So go first, Baker.
So like like the idea behind the AI stuff right now, and Marvel has used like Gen AI for like promo and stuff recently. That's why I bring it up. Like there's a style to that is popular because of people's hard work before it. Not just the idea of like they train the models off this stuff, but people's appreciation for that style of work, like the very heavily rendered, like Alex Ross, Magic the Gathering style artwork. That's always been like a testament of human ability, and that's why it's impressive. Now that you have a machine that kind of makes like something that's, let's be honest, 65 to 70% of the way there without any of the human vision and stuff to it, I think it's going to undermine the value of that art a little bit. You already have people having their work called out because it's a little uncanny valley, which fucking sucks. But like when that value is bankrupted, that technology is useless, because if it's not a popular art style that doesn't appeal to people anymore because you've shit where you've eaten, like it will no longer be valuable to the companies that are going to do it. If super naive authenticity becomes the new style, you're going to have people who are a bit more desperate and a bit more willing to sell that authenticity once they've built it, and then that'll become the new fucking nouveau riche, so I think it's like it's short-sighted to undersell or like to undercut skill-based artwork, right? Like that's so fucking stupid. But also like it's only as valuable as long as human beings like to make it. Unfortunately, AI bots are not people that are going to buy your fucking Funko Pops. They're not people who are going to buy your, like, going to buy tickets to go see your movies and stuff like that. So once humans are out, once humans kind of just go, this shit kind of gives me the ick. And that happens with all styles. Like once it stops having that kind of appeal, like they're basically got like $1 billion fart machine on their hands.
Yeah, and I was gonna say kind of like the same thing that you're saying, which is like I think it's just gonna become the new clip art. Like AI is just gonna become the new clip art.
Has.
All of these, all of these businesses that used like like weird little clip art or like the random free JPEGs they found online to put on their like bakery or whatever. Like now it's just gonna be AI, and so I think it's just gonna be that like people are gonna. I think AI Gen AI art is gonna be associated with low quality.
It's also cheap. Like that's one of the things as
Yeah.
well. Like high skill art used to be expensive because of the skill ceiling and the
It
skills
makes
you
you
need to
look
develop.
broke. Like if a rapper uses AI in a video, it makes them look broke to me.
It's
I
like
think so. Yeah. Because for music videos, that's 100% what it is. It's like, oh, they didn't have the time and money to pay someone, so
Yeah.
they made it with AI.
it's like being called out for wearing like imitation Jordans or something.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was also gonna say it's kind of interesting because I saw this ad this morning when I was at the gym, and I think I was like, I think this is AI. It was for a cake company, and you have this couple, and they open like boxes, and there's like all these kind of fantastical things popping out of the box, and it's like, I don't even understand how that's making the point of the ad where like they're supposed to sell me a cake and I see no cakes. And then I was just like, I feel like I'm just in a dream. And I was like, I had this thought where I was like, I think all it's gonna do is alter our sense of reality, which is already pretty much altered by a lot of social media. But I was like, AI is just gonna sell us a new idea of perfection or dreamliness. It's just gonna make us unhappy. I think, it's like, why is it that when I open my box, butterflies and cute kittens aren't popping out, and it's just a cake?
I mean, Salvador Dali's gonna have to quit. He doesn't have a job anymore. One thing that I wanted to say is
affected by
I have heard, and this is just like a hope, and also kind of a funny thing, I have heard that AI has started feeding its own images into its reference, and that it'll become worse and worse. And my idea is, what if just all artists agreed to draw really badly for a couple weeks? Like,
I think a lot of them have already started.
and we just
I'm sorry. I meant to be more positive.
draw the wrong amount of fingers, draw weird teeth, draw bodies that don't make sense, and then all the AI will start doing really bad stuff. Then we all switch back.
If people are like, oh, we're gonna feed your work into an AI generative model, I'd be like, that's a terrible idea, guys. You're poisoning the water hole.
You're gonna get a lawsuit if you put my thing in and your art turns
I've tried
out.
I've tried to make my art inside of it, and fortunately, most things I make are against OpenAI's terms and services.
Terms of services, right?
Nice.
You're like, hey, can you do like a dude whose like brain is like getting kicked out of the back of his head by like a happy rabbit, and they're like, no, we won't do that.
Well, it's so corporate. Maybe we all need to switch to hentai. We all need to draw not safe for work, and that's the main future.
This Judas Jesus thing might be, this might be your raft out of escaping the AI tsunami.
Hey, man. Oh my God.
Now we can't cut the Jesus stuff out. Now we have to leave all that in.
We have to leave the Jesus.
Yeah, because you keep bringing it up.
Sorry that I maintain my relationship with my Lord, Sean. I can't claim that. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm glad that you brought up the AI and that like the like resistance and that like it shouldn't make people feel like they should quit. I agree. I think people will always want to consume is not the right word, but people will always enjoy art. They'll always seek it out, and I think there's no reason to give up art right now and because of AI. I don't think that's the right reason to give up art.
I guess I just wanted to talk about it a bit because, like, we're a sensitive lot. We're very temperamental, from my experiences at least, artists, and it's like it's a terrifying premise to sit there and think that something you've grown up your entire life that felt, untouchable is now quote unquote under threat. But, like, you got to like push through this shit. And honestly, like, art underneath resistance is often the best. Like, art made against adversity feels more honest. And like, you can't let Elon Musk own this shit, man. Fuck that dude.
Dude, yeah. Oh my God.
Like, are we gonna let the fucking like Bored Ape guys determine how creativity goes going forward. Like, fuck that.
Yeah,
like
what if Leonardo da Vinci met the Bored Ape guys and was like,
Oh.
all right, I quit. I guess you guys win. You know?
But it's just like, do you think it's cool? No, then don't worry about it, because then it means that there's other people. Like, if it's a real feeling that you have, it's a real opinion you have. There's people out there that will, like, I believe that if you're being honest about your opinion, there's people out there that will also find the truth in that shit. And if you don't think it's cool, just make shit that you think it is. You know, like, I don't feel threatened by AI art. I feel intimidated by the concept of it, or I feel scared for my friends. I feel scared for people who have different approaches to art and stuff. And I hate just how shook everybody is by it. Yeah. Like, I hate it for them. Mm-hmm. But like, I also live under the security that I don't think you can make a AI model as mentally unwell as me. And and I think I believe in a lot of you guys out there. I think that you might just be fucked in the head enough that you don't have to worry. And if you make stuff that you like, you'll be fine.
Well, Baker has the one thing that AI cannot have: a brand that is personality based. And we come full circle.
Let's wrap it up there.
Positive hostility. Well, Baker, thank you so much for coming on for being our guest and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. I'm sorry about all that.
A lot of apologies here. I also want to give a big thanks to our listeners for putting up with that. No, I'm just kidding. Follow us on social media at CRTV Block, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to our editor Clemens for editing the podcast, Marco for helping us produce the show, and Abuka for creating the short clips that we put on social media.
Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah, we're trying to make content.
Because doing a great job at finding like the inspiring, the nuggets of wisdom.
Trying to navigate around swear words up against an Australian is like extra hard mode, though, I feel. But thanks for having me. I had a blast.
I mean, you didn't say the C word once on our podcast. I'm actually really impressed, and
I'm going to scream it out the window the minute I hang up here just to get it out of my system.
I'm gonna pop.
If y'all love our show, you can support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews and access to our Discord community. Another great way you can support the show is by liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. Click the link in the description of this episode to follow Baker on all his socials and to find our Patreon. I've been your host, Vee.
And I was Sean. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.